Who are some of the young and upcoming kids that you think are really making some noise out there?
Well, there's a kid named Trippy Red that I definitely want to acknowledge him. He's from Ohio, and he's just very melodic, sings very well, he raps well. He's just very, I have a huge amount of faith in him. He's on the come up. There's a kid named Killy. He's like an Asian kid from Toronto, and I have a lot of faith in him. I met this girl, Rico Nasty, the other day from the DMV, and she's a chick who's very, very, she got a bunch of songs going real viral right now, and I have a lot of faith in her. There's a lot, man.
I remember you saying that there's some kids that you met that you feel are not fully there, but they're like almost there, and it's like you're almost like you're finding out like from people if what they like. It's like you spoke before about being a scout.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times that's what I think people get confused is they'll be like, oh, Adam co-signs a bunch of whack ass weird rap, and it's like if I'm a lot of the stuff I like, I'm not under the illusion that this could be a top hit, but I look at the artist and they're up and coming or whatever, and I'm like, I like it because he's 10% of the way there. And it's like somebody used the metaphor one time is like it's like you're a high school basketball scout where I don't know jack shit about basketball, but I mean you go to the game, you sit there, you watch some fucking 12-year-old run, and like these scouts can tell they're like, oh, that guy's gonna be great when he's 18, Sure. So a lot of times I feel like that's it. I'd be looking at a rapper that I genuinely enjoy, and I'd be able to sit there and say, okay, well, if I was in the studio with him, I could have made this song make a lot more fucking sense. I could have told him to replace this part in the verse. I could have told him to make this part the hook. Do this. There's a lot of things that even I could tell him how to make the song better, but I don't need the song to be a complete product for me to enjoy it. I'm interested in what the kids got going on,
Where do you think you gain that knowledge from?
I just feel like I kind of innately have like an understanding of like how rap should be structured, and like even like a lot of times in the studio with my friends and like they'll like phrase something sort of awkwardly in a lyric, and it took me a while to kind of get the confidence to do it, but I like pull them aside and be like, yo, like I guess it's just because maybe I have a little bit more of a background in terms of actually writing and stuff, and like how sentences should be structured or how words should be used. I'll kind of pull them aside and say, like, hey, maybe in this line, like if you said this instead of this, and like I love when I have a relationship with a rapper where we're close enough that they'll actually like respect my contribution.
I listen to you. Yeah.
So I really love that, and it's kind of, I was talking to Dante Ross about it the other day.
Shouts to Dante.
And I said to him, I'm like, I know that you do shit like that. Like, how do you do that? And he was like, well, my thing is, he goes, I know how to use Pro Tools and everything. So if there's a part in the song that I think could use work or whatever, or I can move some stuff around and actually show them how it would sound that way. I thought that was really interesting, because then he doesn't have to be confrontational or anything. He can just say, hey, like, look at this little thing I just rigged up here. Because a lot of times people don't realize that the choruses on rap songs are not always the chorus that the artist thought was going to be the chorus. When Future did that fucking Percocet, Molly Percocet, I heard that was not the chorus. And that after the fact, the fucking producer took it out of one of the verses and just made that the chorus, which I think is fascinating. Like, I just love behind the scenes shit with rap in general,
Yeah. Have you directly put on any artists from your platform?
I feel like the biggest artists that we sort of like broke per se are a lot of the South Florida dudes, like XXXTentacion. Like, he did his interview and then he blew the fuck up out of jail while he was in jail, and like people didn't really have that much to go on. He had like 10 songs out, so they kept sort of like referring back to his podcast as like a way to explain who he was. So that's like got like 5 million views. Somebody like Lil Pump and Smoke Perp, they just having like an honest, like organic friendship with them. I felt like that we were a very big part, like took them on their first tour, did the first Smoke Perp interview, stuff like that. So it's like we have my relationships with these dudes is they're just young kids to me. Like, people look at Lil Pump like he's a fucking maniac or whatever, and to me it's like I met him when he was 16, which was like a year ago, and like, it's just a kid to me. Like, I'm used to being around crazy 17-year-olds with a lot of talent through the BMX shit, so now I'm around Lil Pump and he's rapping instead of doing bike tricks, and it doesn't really seem that weird to me.
Yeah. How important is it to explain to these kids at a young age to brand themselves? Like, meaning like not just music, because you're not just doing one thing either. And you understand the game is not just only the podcast. It's the store, it's the branding, it's the working with companies, the visual sense.
To be real, like a kid like Lil Pump or X, I mean, they are born with an innate sense of like viral marketing that I'm not sure that any adult could really like go out of their way to obtain. Like, somebody like Lil Pump understands Instagram and how to get a lot of likes on Instagram and what kind of caption is going to do well on Instagram to a level that, I'm in awe of, because these kids grew up online. They know that shit. Like, they know what's going to work. So in terms of like self-branding, and people always complain about like, oh, it's all image now, it's not really about the music. There's a lot of truth to that, because a lot of these kids, it's just they're so good at marketing themselves that becomes like such a gigantic part of the game.